All right, everybody, welcome back to the No Quarter Podcast.
Idaho's #1 podcast.
Episode number 33. Hey, we are super excited.
We are excited.
We've been hinting. I haven't been shy. I put y'all's logo up on our thumbnails.
Well, I saw it on one of the
Yeah,
podcasting.
yeah.
I went down the description and I was like, they hinted at it, but I was like, they wrote it right in
But
the
we haven't
description.
announced it yet.
Yeah.
What are we announcing today, Rob?
Our first sponsor of the channel,
Yeah.
besides us,
Yeah, that's right.
VKTR.
Vector. So okay, this is the
let's
question.
clear it up because I've got questions
this has been
too.
Yeah, go for
Okay. Victor, Vector, or VKTR?
All of the above. No, it's Vector.
Vector.
But a lot of the guys will say VKTR.
Mhm.
It's just Vector, straight Vector.
Vector.
Okay.
You got a lot of guys that are like originally were like when we first came out, were confused like Chris Vector. Like, nope, have no affiliation.
Yeah.
I haven't seen one of those in a while, except in Call of Duty and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Seeing those floating around.
Yeah, so Vector, they're sponsoring the show. Super excited to have you guys as a partner.
Yeah,
We just
Super excited.
we just got off the range. We did like a full kind of intro with all of Rob's crew, and then all of us just showing us the platform. We've seen them before, obviously, but kind of getting a full range day and
Full
spending-
hands on.
Yeah, hands on,
Yeah.
spending the time with you guys to kind of walk us through all the proprietary tech and all that kind of stuff. Super
All the
fun.
good.
So,
So, yeah.
if you haven't shot one of their rifles, it's range day's a good day to do that.
Yeah.
And,
Don't fucking wait. Just
We
go
will
do
be
it.
there. Yeah, we will definitely be there.
Yeah.
But super excited. So let's get the business stuff out of the way. So Vector's a partner of the show now. You're going to see their branding all over the place. You're going to see product all over the place. So how's it go on YouTube? Full transparency. We are. This isn't a sponsored episode, and they're going to be sponsoring the channel. So
Okay, this episode's
we're
brought to
gonna
you by-
throw all kinds of love towards Vector, and we are affiliated. But we wouldn't do it if we didn't believe in the product. The product is really truly.
Well,
great.
that's the thing. So it's important to know, like, these rifles do not suck.
No,
They're
I like that.
They
You
No,
do not
they
suck
are-
at
yeah,
all.
they're great.
And it's not just because they gave us cool hats. Like the first one
we're
I
all wearing
used.
the same hat.
Yeah,
Except for me.
the first one I used. Yeah, but that's okay because you like, you
yeah,
know.
I got the shirt.
Yeah. The first one I shot was Rob's,
Mm-hmm. Same.
and with a cam that is a little less
Gassy.
flow through. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty gassy, and it just was like so flat. And I was like, "What is this? What the fuck's going on here?" But today that what is it? The one that's behind you, that 10.5, I think it is.
10.5 with the
Woo!
Hut Flow TI on it.
So
Yeah.
dumb. It's so flat.
This is my candy cane.
It's
gun.
and it's soft.
It's just
Like noticeably softer. I know you said
Yeah.
you don't like to say soft, but
Yeah.
it's very
yeah,
light on the shoulder.
not flaccid,
Pellet rifle.
soft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful gun.
So yeah, the best way to help us, to support them, we're not gonna do an affiliate code. We're not gonna do anything like that with Vector Industries. We are going to try to push all of the. If you guys are interested in checking them out, Range Day is coming up here pretty soon.
Yeah,
Yep.
very soon.
But then if you guys are interested in picking up any Vector products, shopblackrifle.com is a premier dealer for Vector.
Yep.
So
Covers all three of my stores.
all three
and
of his
we,
stores.
we will probably do a code. We talked about this for the website for
the podcast.
the
Yeah, for the
podcast.
listeners.
Yeah. So
But the code is going to be like I just wanted to make that clear. We're not doing a push to drive sales directly through them because they don't want to. This is one of the things we should talk about
Right.
from an industry perspective. Which Rob is the one who kind of introduced this whole relationship and got it set up. But they're one of the few manufacturers that are not trying to compete with their dealers,
yeah.
which is
Our-
pretty rad.
which is
our big
awesome.
thing. Yeah. Our big thing is like we know that our dealers, that large, small, whatever, they are out there doing the work. They're educating the people on it. A customer walks in, they want customers. We want to be able to speak knowledgeably about the gun, and because the gun
Yeah.
is so, I won't say different, but it's got so many different features of it. We have to have knowledgeable, and that's why I flew literally across. I came from Florida. I literally flew across
Last
the
night.
country to spend 2 to 3 hours with your guys this morning to train them, and so they understand why the system is the way they is, why it is. They can understand it. They can sell it better to those customers, and we get more hands. So that really is versus, oh yeah, I'm not trying to do 20% sales online. I'm not trying to do stuff like that. We want our dealers to be our ambassadors,
Yeah.
and that's kind of a change from the direction a lot of other people are going right now.
It is.
Smart.
It's hard to compete directly with the manufacturer when the manufacturer is actually selling products to the customer. but they still have to ship the product to a dealer.
Yeah.
So they're hurting their dealers, and your dealers are spending all the time with the customer, and then the customer just goes straight to the manufacturer,
Right.
which is it's weird because they're not getting a better deal. They're
No.
getting actually MSRP pricing,
Mm-hmm.
but you're sucking the dealer dry of all their knowledge.
We have
Yeah.
no problem with you buying stuff online from our website. We have to have that.
Yeah.
But we tell people, you are going to wait. Like we do have a lead time. Each gun
Yeah.
is built to, based on our orders that we have come in. So it is much more beneficial for the customer to walk into a shop and
That
say,
has
hey,
inventory.
I want this
Yep.
gun, and you can get it, and you're going to get that love and attention.
Yep.
Especially, if you're into buying NFA, because the gun is optimized to shoot suppress. So that's going to be, if you already don't have suppressors, that's going to be your next buy. So it's always good to go into a knowledgeable shop
Yep.
and get the information you need and grab it off the shelf
Yep.
and roll with it.
Yeah. I mean, the demand is there. And like for the listeners, I mean, I'm going to tell you, well, first of all, Eric, you want to introduce yourself? Well,
That's
you
what
are?
I was just gonna
was
say.
like,
man.
Should we do a proper
I guess we
introduction?
should do that.
We're not
Sure.
good with others.
Yeah. No.
Sure. No, it's kind of the way it rolls anyway. So I'm the national sales manager for Vector Industries. So I handle, we have an amazing rep group out there that is handling all our sales, but my job is to support them. Whether it's trade show events, whether it's coming out to dealer events, doing things like that, I make 100% of my effort going out to support those dealers. I also cover the law enforcement side of it. So I do fly around a lot. Like if you call me and I don't answer the phone, I might be out the range with, at TTPOA or wherever to get products in front of those guys, because we feel that the product is got enough changes and enough differences in the way the system operates that getting that face-to-face contact with people is more important and get, like you said, getting hands on the gun.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I've got about 8 or 9 years in the industry, worked in a couple different companies. This company, like so far, this has been like my favorite job because we're essentially starting a company, I won't say from the ground up, but it's close enough to the point where we are open to a lot of ideas and a lot of things, and just getting out, like talking to the guys this morning, and they're like, hey, what about this? And what about that? That's stuff that I can bring back that, not saying we fix it right away, but it's feedback from customers where a lot of companies, I won't say any names, but a lot of companies like, this is what we make.
Yeah.
This is what you're getting. Too bad. And, obviously, inline changes are expensive, but it's like when you do it all at once. So for us, super important. That's why they brought me on to kind of manage all that stuff and come out and forge relationships with the consumers. And as we start ramping up our manufacturing, I know a lot of people probably seen Dave, the owner, he's out and about. As we start opening to new products that we have in the future and we're expanding, he's going to have a lot less time to spend doing this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
He's going to be like stuck down at the factory, managing all that, which is super important.
Yeah.
Which
So-
aren't you guys? He's building a new factory
He's
right
got
now.
it. He's literally in the process right now. So that's a huge deal for us. That's a commitment that's going to, we are not going anywhere.
Yeah.
We may be the new guys on the block. But like if you look at it from a perspective of, we were talking about this earlier, from AR manufacturers during the pandemic and post-pandemic up until that point, from like 2017, every other week or every month, you'd have a new AR manufacturer coming out with a direct impingement that was a game changer, or it was, a lot of them were doing heavy barrels, heavy handguard, whatever it may be.
It was a race to the bottom.
Right.
Actually.
Right.
There was so
there
many
was a couple
quality,
guys,
So many
yeah.
game changers. The game never changed.
How can I
Yeah.
put a new product out? Yeah.
I'm gonna make you a shirt that says that.
Game changer.
Race to the
Race to the
bottom.
bottom.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I
It's
like
the
it.
truth, dude. It's like what this industry is doing lately. And it's unfortunate because there's awesome brands like this that
Right.
this is not a budget AR. This is your top shelf tier level gun.
And some of our guys that we've reviews that we've had came in, and you see the comments and they're like, oh man, the price. And I'm like, if you compare it
Right.
to, you look at our competitors, and I'm obviously not going to say names because it's like my own subjective opinions of who
Yeah.
our competitors are. But if you look at some of the brands, the features that you get for the $2,100 to $2,300 price range, there's a lot more features in the gun, and it does a lot
Absolutely.
more. So
Yep.
yeah, I get it. If you don't want to buy a $2,300 gun, we want you to be that first guy buying your first piston AR. That's what we want.
Yeah.
But we also understand that's kind of where we're at.
Can you, just for the context for our listeners, this is one of the things that I think we all appreciate from a brand side. We're a growing, media outlet. Like our podcast is small, we're starting to get engagement and traction. You guys are partnering with us. looking at a strategic partnership, one with Rob Stores, with SimShot, with our show, because you guys are growing as well. Can you give us kind of the elevator pitch for, what's the 30-second pitch on the platform? Give our listeners some context as to what is so different about this platform.
Right.
And then I'd love to hear a little bit of history on Vector if we have some, because I know you said you guys are kind of the new kids on the block, but that doesn't mean that y'all are new to the.
No, it just didn't show up.
You guys aren't new to the show. You know what I mean?
Right.
Give us a little history as well. I'd love to hear some of that.
So the elevator pitch on the gun, and I think we talked about this to the guys earlier, is it is a short stroke piston rifle that's self-regulating. What makes that important is piston rifles have generally been heavier, kind of chunkier recoiling. They have to use adjustable gas block, which adds to the weight and all that stuff. So with this system, and I'm not digging on technical details, I'm just telling you why it's better. It is going to be in the same profile of a direct impingement system. It's going to recoil similar, and you're going to be at that starting weight point similar to a DI gun. So when you start adding your lights, lasers, and stuff like that. So if you want a gun that is easier to clean, you're getting less gas in your face, is optimized for the modern suppressor, low recoiling, and if you're going to shoot a lot, this is the gun you want. It is a very functional gun. So if you want light, fast, robust, backed by a lifetime warranty on the gun, this is definitely the gun that you want to look at for that kind of shooter.
Yeah.
We have our analysis when we first came out, like we were talking about earlier, is this is the guy that's going to own 2 or 3 ARs. He's looking to upgrade to something new. But I honestly believe now that's changed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do too.
If you are getting new into the AR platform and you are going to invest significant time and money into training, and ammunition is not cheap anymore. Training classes aren't cheap. Buy a gun that's going to make your shooting experience while you're on the range more pleasant, as opposed to something that's going to be chunkier, gassier, may have more issues, or may not back by a warranty, may not have that background. So that's really where I think we shine as a brand. So I've kind of pivoted that kind of pitch of it's going from the experienced AR shooter to, hey, maybe it is a great gun for a new guy that's ready to invest that time. Because you have people online that are like, oh, I don't want an $800 or $1,000 AR. I'm like, fine.
You're going to spend more.
Right. But when you start investing time, and if I'm going to spend $400 to go to a class on the weekend, or I'm going to bring the ammo and my time, that's my personal time that I'm taking, I'm going to want a gun that's going to perform good. And I also want a gun that I know is hey, this gun is going to last during the class kind of thing. So,
well, and from an instructing standpoint, it's really, I've taken so many rifle classes. I have taught one here now, and without fail, and I think me and you might have talked about it. Me and one of our gunsmith buddies who took the class talked about it. You know what guns go down during the classes? The shit sticks. The ones that are just not well built, pieced together, or they're just really low end guns. Now maybe there's a few exceptions, but for the most part, if we're in a 20-person 2-day rifle class, and I could see all the different guns that people have and stuff, it's like you can almost look at it and be like, oh, it's only a matter of time. He'll be looking for a spare rifle for this class or something.
You know that firearms trainers are some of the number one people to go to for recommendations. If you want to know what's doing right and what's failing, talk to it doesn't even have to be a national level firearms. It could be your local guy that's doing a class every weekend. They're going to tell you what optics are going to fail the most. They're going to tell you where the issues with the suppressors.
Yeah.
They're going to tell you the issues with the guns.
100%.
What was that? I sent you guys that post last
better
night.
than a
Mickey.
YouTuber, better than your YouTuber influencer. I can guarantee that.
Yep. When we see it all, we see it all on the line. We see everything from we'll see, PSA daggers to atlases in one class.
Right.
And
that's a pretty wide freaking spectrum right there.
Silly, dude. It's crazy. I mean, we'll go do a competition and we'll see a dude who's been shooting since, I'm like, oh, how long you been shooting? They're like, oh, I started shooting in January. I'm like, oh, and I look to see what they're carrying and I'm like, damn, that's a really nice gun, dude.
Yeah.
You're an open.
Yeah, you went hard.
Yeah, and they're like, I just figured, just get, and I'm just like, yeah, but that's fine. But you don't even have a grip. How do you know you like this gun?
Yeah, buy ammo.
Yeah, go buy a Glock and shoot ammo, right? I will say, when I was shooting these, without a doubt, it is a significantly smoother shooting experience than one of my really high-end rifles
Right.
that I did. And you were in the class. I bought, I'd say, one of the competitors' rifles. It's a very high-end rifle. It's nice. It's fully kitted up. It's beautiful, suppressed. It's great. Man, that thing broke down how many times in one day?
Yeah.
Like 4 or 5 times I had to come off
Yeah.
the line, take it apart, put it back together, and go back out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
to be fair, like every manufacturer, there's always going to be issues.
Sure.
It's
Of
when they,
course.
it's a machine.
You
It's a
really
human-
see
it.
the issues when you're shooting them suppressed.
right.
Oh,
Right.
100%.
So when you're shooting a gun suppressed, it does a lot of different things to the rifle
Yeah.
if it's
Well,
not
that's-
completely tuned, and that's what
If
makes
it's not,
this
yeah.
And that's the
this
thing you
rifle
said, optimized for
optimized, yeah.
suppressed shooting.
Yeah.
That's humongous.
Yeah.
That's
It kind of tell us about the system,
Yeah.
right? The short
So
stroke
basically,
system.
it's a short stroke gas piston system. It's self-regulating, so it's got 6 holes. When the system operates and the round goes through, the first 3 holes allow that gas to pass to operate the rod, or excuse me, they operate the rod. The other 3 holes will bleed off gas as it detects how much pressure. So you can shoot it unsuppressed, you can let it rock or whatever. You can throw a can on it. It's going to run fine, no issues. That with the introduction of a 22.5-degree cam path, which ultimately changes the way the gun unlocks. It fixes the dwell time up front with a lot of what the guys try to do in the back with A5 buffer tubes, H3 buffers, Blue Sprinko springs, all that stuff. Fixed it up front. So it's when you play with the gun, like if I walk into Boise Black Rifle now and I go in and play with a gun, you're going to see how smooth. You're not going to get that initial lockup that you do on a standard DI gun or any
Yeah.
piston gun. You're getting that lockup. It feels smoother, but when you go to shoot it, that actually translates to a smoother action on the shooting. It is not due to, I've heard some people say it's like, oh, because of the thin dense chrome finish. That doesn't make the gun shoot any smoother. That is just the coating that we put on the gun to make it more easier to clean,
Yeah.
makes it more like robust. But that system with the intuitive ambidextrous controls, left side, right side, makes it an ideal system for a competitive shooter or somebody who wants that light, fast carbine, or to the new guy who's just getting his foot in the game. And if he's learning, like, hey, I can use left and right, I can do this, that, and the other thing, it's more pleasant. So when I go to that 5-hour, 8-hour class on the weekend, I want to go back and do it again.
yeah.
And equipment matters, man. Like I'm a scuba
It does.
diver.
Yeah.
I live in Florida. I scuba dive a lot. Like I haven't done it as much in the last year. But when I upgraded my equipment, the same experience that I'm doing,
Got better.
it got a lot easier to breathe, like
Yep.
all that stuff. And it's like, yes, you can go. And when you talk about like true life-saving equipment, like that stuff you can't really skim out, but all
Yeah.
the companies are pretty good. But getting better stuff
Mm-hmm.
made it easier and made me want to do it more. So that from a perspective of training and shooting, like that's the way I look at it,
Yeah.
from that kind of,
It's crazy how you reference it to a sport that you're into. When I opened up my first store, Sacramento Black Rifle, and I took all that training before I opened up and during that whole process of just selling parts, I only brought in the best of the best
right.
because I already seen everything fail at the classes.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, why have that in the store when you know that you're going to have a return?
Right.
At some point, you're going to have a return. Now, that's not to say that we don't carry things that aren't the toppest of tier
Right.
products in
Right.
in the store, but you know,
but they
what
have a
fails.
reputation for being good.
And if
Yeah.
and if it does have a reputation of being good, and I have a reputation of it actually working, that's what we carry. And all 3 stores have been that way for 18 years.
And that's really like for us, that is especially as like the dealer sales manager, like the hardest part is being able to walk into a dealer and explain to him like, okay, this is why it's done. This is why we do what we do. And this is why this gun is great without actually having to go out there and shoot the gun to get the understanding. Like if I walk into a shop and like a known dealer and the kid from behind the counter is like, hey man, check out this gun. This is your gun. I have it kitted out with my lights and lasers and stuff like that. I was like, all right, these guys are believers. Like they understand that, we're not giving them anything for that. But the fact that he's excited to have a manufacturer rep walk into the store
Yep.
and show him his gun that he built out, believe it or not, is huge.
Yeah.
And I'm like nobody. I'm just a dude, right?
Yeah.
I
Well,
just
and
go
you guys
out.
took the time to fly all the way out
Yeah,
here
Yeah.
and take us to the range today. That means something to me,
Right.
the owner, right? My guys are finally getting a chance to maybe shoot it for the first time. And now they get hands-on experience. They get to see you. They get to find out about the employee purchase programs and all of that. It just makes it just that much better.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And that's for a
really
company,
does.
for a relation. That is a huge deal right now in the industry with relationships, with dealer relationships. You know, there's a whole spectrum of things, you know, different companies you can talk to out there, but like, that's the way we kind of came at, me and Dave, when we sat down, like, this is what we want. Like, we want to have the relationships. We want our dealers.
It's gotten so far away from that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So many, it's like, well, traveling, it cuts into our margins. So we're going to reduce our travel. We're not going to have as much relationship because it's just going to go through distribution. It's just going to go through a rep group, and they don't really care. So there's no feedback, and that communication loop breaks down. And from my perspective, as a manufacturer, the most beneficial information you're going to get is from these guys at the counter.
Yeah.
Right.
Because they're talking to the people
Right.
that they sell to constantly. Guys don't come into a gun shop, buy a gun, and then disappear. They're going to
100%.
buy a gun, then they're going to come back probably once a week for the next 6 months and talk about what they're doing, talking about how it's running. Oh, I had this problem. Oh, it ran great. Oh, I put this suppressor on it, whatever. All that information, that's not something you can get in generic polls.
And they buy a gun from a shop
That's what I
because
mean.
they trust those
They
guys.
like
That's
them.
right.
They like those guys. Like my local shop, I like to go in there, and you know, I can get a gun anywhere, but I still go in there. They were my first NFA purchase. I trust them, like that kind of thing.
And that's the thing. Like, I've been doing this for 18 years. We've built a really strong brand. And when I see my license plate frames, I see shirts, I see lanyards hanging out of people's pockets.
That's got to be huge.
Like, they're not doing that just because. They're doing that because they trust us. They like us. We might not have the best pricing, right? We might not have every single product that they're looking for, but they trust us.
Yeah, you're not Walmart,
We're
but
not-
you have a
it's
value
almost like a
proposition.
family.
Yes.
It's almost like
we're a pro shop.
we're part of the Boise Black Rifle family or the
Yes.
Sacramento. Like, we're cool. Like, hey, I know Rob, I know your guys. If you notice, like, if you shadowed me when I go to different shops and like talking to you guys, like when everyone's done, I pull your guy off to the side. We start talking about suppressors for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm like, hey man, what are the trends? What's going on? Like, because I don't have visibility on all that. I mean, I try to stay tracking with the industry because suppressors are the new, like, every week we have a new brand. But like,
Right.
hey, what are you seeing? What's the trends out there? Like, what do you, as far as ARs, like this stuff? And that's how, like, knowledge is built, and that's how we learn. And we try to take that information and go back and do, you know,
Well, like
just
this
be a better
morning, you were
business.
completely, you said, hey, what can we do?
Right.
You know, give us the positive or the negative on the rifle. And one of the biggest complaints is the safety, right? It's a little bit sharp. And you're like, okay, we might not be able to change that right away, obviously, because it's manufacturing, but you're like, duly noted.
Yeah, 100%.
We're going to take
Well,
that.
that's not how the
and-
delivery went of that statement. But Jesus Christ. He said that, I'm just like, come on.
A little decorum.
Come on. Wasn't he a Marine?
Yeah.
It makes
Yeah,
sense.
he was.
Yeah.
Were you a Marine?
No, Army,
Oh, okay.
25 years.
Okay.
So yeah,
Yeah.
but it's so where you get your feedback. So you can get it from, you know, you can get it from influencers like customers or whatever. You can get it from professional end users, which are a huge deal because these guys are shooting a lot more.
Yeah.
And then you get it from your guys that are working the shop that are into guns. Those guys, believe it or not, are a super valuable resource
Yeah.
for trends that are happening, maybe not nationally, but locally.
Yeah.
The problem with that, it's a double-edged sword, is a lot of guys have their subjective personal opinions.
Yeah.
Like, I like this brand. Like, there's another shop. It was like, hey, you know, it's we want to test it with this suppressor, and I'm like, hey man, I've never even heard of this suppressor company. Like, this is our suppressor. And so I know a lot of guys in the suppressor industry. I texted them. I was like, hey man, what do you know about this? What makes this suppressor special? I don't know. Never heard of them. Never heard of them. Never heard of them. And I'm like, okay, so you're telling me this is what you want to test it with, and I'm supposed to have this, this, and this, but I've got to look at what dealers are selling.
Right.
I've got to look at what people are using in generally, and that's where kind of like that's where I formulate my market research from.
Yeah.
And I think
So-
a lot of people don't understand that there are tolerance stacks. You know what I
Correct,
mean?
correct.
Every manufacturer is not going to play nice with every manufacturer. That's just the truth.
Correct.
Correct.
You know, and I even told you guys this at the range today. It's like, I've never been a huge fan of piston driven guns.
Right.
One, because you can't just walk into a store and get replacement parts for a piston gun. Now, with that being said, there are two brands that we sell religiously. It's yours and another manufacturer's. I would say that this brand, your, VKTR Industries, is probably our number one selling of the piston
Right.
guns.
Should we
And-
break down the difference between the two?
Yeah, well, why not?
It's not me. I can't do it. But I think that the listeners might benefit from understanding the
Yeah, are you talking about
DI
the difference between DI and piston?
Oh, okay.
I think that's important because I think there are some listeners who are
Yeah.
new to AR. I think there's some listeners who maybe are just used to their standard old gas gun
Sure.
that they've had forever that they just got.
which is awesome
they're-
too. You
and
know what I
they're-
mean? It's just,
Yeah,
this
no,
is
it
just
totally
a totally
is.
separate.
It has
right.
its place.
But
Yeah.
no, it totally does. And I mean, it does. But for the people listening, do you want to break down the difference between the two?
So I'll kind of give you the once around the world.
Yeah.
So on a DI, a direct impingement AR,
Mhm.
when your
I took them all out.
gas comes up through the tube,
Mhm.
it shoots through your gas tube and it unlocks the system to operate your bolt carrier group. So by doing that, so that's the original like M16, M4 style design that's been
It's got
around.
that key on the top
Yeah.
of the
Yep.
carrier group. And
Yeah,
the gas
it's got a
hits
gas
that.
key on it. So that is kind of like the standard for the way ARs have run for a while. I mean,
Right.
obviously, the downfalls of that is that you are getting more gas into your face.
Oh, big time.
You've got a gas key that's staked on your carrier, so that gas key could break, and they do shear. Now I've got a bolt that's getting carbon dumped directly into the bolt through the carrier key, which is making it like much more intensive on cleaning and stuff like that. And you've got gas rings. If you ever seen people do like the stand up test, they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, like I check my gas rings." Well, when I show them the piston, they're like, "Oh, it's out of spec." I'm like,
it's
"No,
not right.
it's not right." So with a piston, you're having a gas come up and punch a piston. So you have the long stroke and the short stroke. Ours is a short stroke. So that gas is passing through, operating that piston,
Yeah.
and the piston is operating the bolt carrier group.
Mhm.
So generally, the drawbacks on the piston system, when we were talking about in the beginning, is it is a heavier system. It is proprietary because there's only so many ways you can do a piston system.
Right.
Yeah.
And with that, if you're shooting suppressed, you have to have an adjustable gas block that says suppress, unsuppressed, which is you are inducing another failure point in the gun.
Yeah.
In general, even DI guns, they have DI guns with adjustable gas block. You've got
Yep.
screws and
Mhm.
springs, and
Right.
little things in there. So with this system, we remove the adjustable gas block and allow the gas to pass out up front.
It's just a
So it's-
self-regulating system, right? So it
100%.
self-equalizes because it's got more ports.
Right. So what we try to do is we try to fix up front what everybody's doing out back here. So if you look at the military right now, if you look at SIG, and that's another discussion for another podcast. Like
That's a
the
discussion on
all of
every
us get
podcast.
goals.
yeah, that's a
Yeah.
next gen program. If you look
Yeah.
at like the MCX, if you look at the HK M27, which is a great system, they're all piston systems. Europe is very piston heavy because obviously you have like HK and Hanel and all those other companies like that. So only in the United States, it's much more heavy into the direct impingement side. So
Mhm.
that is why when you saw the big rush, like we were talking about for AR manufacturers
Yeah.
into the direct impingement, it is a easier system to assemble. And it's a gas block, it's a pin, it's a tube. You obviously you have to get all your everything's right, but I mean as far as building a gun, it is a much simpler system to just assemble and manufacture as an AR because it's been out there so long.
Mhm.
So that's kind of where we come from is like if we're going to create a system that is going to be better than others.
Yep.
The piston system to us was that what we had to do because we
Yeah.
could have just thrown together a DIAR.
And share with us the profile of the rifle. You guys can see them in the background.
yeah,
So the
yeah,
profile
see
of this rifle,
It looks like a DI gun.
It looks like a DI gun. And explain that situation with the barrel, how you guys were able to shave the weight off by fluting the
right.
barrel in a legitimate machine gun rated barrel.
Right. So
Um,
our kind of idea, the idea behind the system was number one is we wanted it to match the profile and weight of a standard DI gun. And to do that, and also we wanted to have even though the handguard is proprietary, we wanted an M-LOK handguard that was thin. So I didn't have if you look at some of like the SIG and the H&K, they have like very thick, high handguards, which is good, but we wanted a thinner profile handguard that was easier to grip. And then we went with a heavy, if you look at our barrel, it is a heavy profile, especially on the back end. It's not a thin barrel, but we profiled flutes, double shot peened it to kind of take away some of that weight and help with the cooling. So that coupled with like the upper receiver, we sell the upper receivers as a kit. So if you
Which is an
already
awesome
have,
option.
So if you already have Value to the customer, the complete gun obviously is great because you're getting the ambidextrous controls, the hyperfire trigger, all that
We
stuff
haven't
out
even
of
gotten into that because those
Yeah.
ambi controls are so intuitive.
But the upper itself, it meets the same requirements of a DI gun. And you've got your buffer, you've got your spring, you can drop it in on your lower. I don't have a proprietary like weird folder thing or anything like that. It is straight up like similar to the DI gun that I've been shooting for the last 10, 15 years, but better.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of where
awesome.
that's
And
kind of
explain the bolt too. Like show people the bolt. That's
so when we were talking about like bolt carriers, obviously this is a thin dense chrome. So on this
That's
system,
the one out of the gun that we just shot.
this
the
is what
living
we just
shit
shot.
out of.
I
yeah,
literally-
and it just wipes right off.
I literally wiped it off. So I mean, yeah, I've got a little bit of dirt right here.
That's
So
crazy.
when we talk
Love that.
about
That's how I
gas
clean.
keys, so this is just a solid piece of metal right here. So this is not going to shear off like a gas key. So it's a reduced failure point. We've got the cam pin right here has got a arrow on it. So you put your cam pin in the same way. Believe it or not, that is a patent. That is a design patent to put that marked cam pin with the arrow. So it goes in the same way every time. Full disclosure, I don't take this thing apart hardly ever. I mean, I've got probably thousands of rounds on this bolt, and I do the same thing I do with every other demo. I put a little bit of lube oil on it or whatever. I get done, I take it back, I wipe it off, throw it in for the next thing. And I go like,
So you're not pulling the bolt apart.
I'm not pulling the bolt. I mean, it's been a while
I
since I
haven't
pulled
cleaned
this.
this. Full disclosure, I haven't cleaned this gun
Yeah.
in 4,000 rounds.
I know people like to like, oh, I cleaned your gun. It's like, hey man, I'm not telling you not to clean it. I'm just telling
And
you
it's
I
dirty.
haven't.
It's
Yeah.
dirty and it just runs flawlessly. And we just got done. We put this actually upper on a full auto lower today, and we
Yeah.
shot the shit out of it.
Yeah.
And it stayed cool. It's dirty.
It's
as
always
hell.
fun getting them on the
Well,
full,
it got a little hot.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not
on
like
the full auto.
Oh yeah, she's gonna cook.
Oh yeah,
She's gonna cook on the full auto.
She got warm.
Yeah, she's gonna cook.
yeah.
But then with the cam path where you're increasing dwell by 2 degrees. So what I say is, we all shot the gun. We all kind of
Yeah.
like, oh, it's soft shooting. But I like to tell people with like the recoil profile is more of a straight back than an up and back.
Yeah.
So you could keep, if you're shooting with a red dot, you keep your red dot on target. I have a 16-inch gun. It's got a Huxworks flow, like the standard flow on there. I use that as my long range. When I shoot the quantified performance, the gas gun matches, I just started shooting it, and as easy, as smooth as it is, watching like your misses, you can see where your impacts are going on your follow-up shots. You know, when you're hitting steel, seeing your impacts, the recoil on the gun is just, it's great. It's an amazing, it's hard to explain. You know, if you picked up like an MCX or you see that like that chunkier long stroke or AK, I mean, the AK is a long stroke.
Yeah.
That system and how chunky it is compared to this gun. And I believe it's like everything that works together as a system versus a, you know, piecemealing a bunch of stuff together, I think.
How long was that range we were shooting today?
25.
Yeah, I was
25.
hitting rapid doubles with the gun behind you, just pop 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 pop
On
pop.
steel.
On
Yeah.
the steel, it's about, so we were about 25 yards. No, where we were standing actually to that steel was probably about 30.
Okay.
So 30 yards and just
my
effortless.
recoil center mass was not coming off steel.
Not at all.
So
Not
if
at
like
all.
going back to what I said in the beginning, if you want a lightweight, fast carbine
Yeah.
where you can hit targets for the American rifleman, you know, for the majority of people that have ranges out to like maybe 300 or 400, and you want to, you know, throw a red dot on it, you want to throw a low power variable optic or something like a 1-6 or 1-8, it is an ideal gun to do work within that space. I mean, you can definitely make it happen. And competitive shooter, it is a huge, I know obviously competitive shooters like to customize their own stuff, which makes sense, but it's a great starting point. You've got ambidextrous controls. You've got a hyperfire single stage, 4.5 pound trigger on your lower, low recoil, easy follow-up shots. You could put a muzzle brake on if you want, but you almost don't need a muzzle brake to keep it flat shooting. So that's kind of,
Suppress it.
yeah. I don't think a lot of 2-gun or 3-gun guys, like they tend to not like to suppress it. I think they use muzzle brakes just
Yeah.
to, you know, keep it flatter because it's more weight. But
Mhm.
you know, I'm a suppressor guy.
Yeah.
I like to shoot
It
suppressed.
should be a
definitely
crime. It should be a crime not to
What's
shoot
it-
suppressed.
When
The
Matt was shooting
barbarian
his
is
gun, I'm
loud.
like, it's 2025, bro. Have some
Yeah.
respect.
Well, and it's
Yeah.
like
Heathens.
you're on a line with
Heathens,
20
yeah.
other guys. Like, suppress your gun, dude.
Yeah.
Well, you quickly know who doesn't have the suppressor. It's like,
Well, and who's running a comp, just chattering teeth.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Boom, boom. And you're just like, when the instructor
think-
doesn't want to go work next to you, he
Mhm.
stays on the
Yes.
other side.
Yeah.
You know it's a
You
problem.
know, it's
Yeah, that's a problem.
Suppress your gun. But I can honestly say this as a left-handed shooter, and there's probably only one. Well, I mean, you shoot
Yeah.
lefty rifle,
Yeah.
but like our listeners, maybe like one additional lefty shooter. I don't know.
know.
But as a lefty shooter, the ambi controls were just perfect.
They're dialed.
perfect. There's no other way to say it. Perfectly placed. I had purchased another rifle because of the ambi controls, and those ones were good too. But dude,
if you play with it, it takes a little while. Like if you're not used to it,
yeah.
it is a quick.
Oh,
once
yeah.
you get it down, you're good. It's quick. It's a intuitive system that's
Yep.
designed to work together. And
Yeah.
that's where we're at.
I cannot wait for the end of the month because we're doing that 2-day course.
Yeah.
It's going to
Yeah.
be fun because we're going to really put it through its paces.
Yeah, we'll work them. And so even right-handed shooters, no, you can use your thumb and your index
Yep.
to work your safety
Yep.
selector. And
What
ambi
can do you
con-
think you're gonna put on that gun when we get the first one out?
You know, I don't know. I mean,
I'm going
I
Hux.
think I'm going to have to go through a flow.
mimic.
I was thinking about putting an Otter Creek on it, but I think I'm going to have to go with the flow.
We could drill holes in the Otter Creek.
Yeah.
Just like, all right. But I don't know if
know.
that's okay or not.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to
Yeah,
talk
that
to.
that was very smooth.
It's hard to argue with. I
Right.
mean, it's starkly different.
It is.
We
Yeah,
shot a
than this
couple.
can,
We
yeah.
shot a high back pressure can earlier, and then we shot the flow, and it's noticeably different.
Yeah.
And then my last thing as a lefty, when you're shooting a rifle suppressed, if you're not playing with the gas block or anything like that, you can anticipate some brass coming back towards your face.
I get it here. I get it on my face.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
right. Ejecting completely outwards, away
Yeah.
from my face, which is kind of ideal for me.
Right. It's kind of
You know
a
what I
good
mean?
deal.
I do
Yeah.
not want it coming back towards my face. Like this one, which isn't flow through, was
No.
not ejecting into my. I mean, I definitely was getting the blowback of the gas in my face, but like it was not ejecting towards my like shoulders. I
Mm.
love that. That was awesome. So I don't know.
That's
Yeah.
a good setup for sure.
Yeah,
That's a-
That
That's
was
my-
different. That was
It might be that
again,
can that I ended up
noticeably
getting, yeah.
different than this can,
Even
for sure.
I-
That
we were-
high flow.
We were out at the Night Ops Summit, which is a big event they do out in Texas. We sponsor that event with Green Line Tactical. They're firearms trainers.
Mhm.
They do like not a night vision stuff. And we took the can off, and the gun still shoots flat. It's an amazing, it's an amazing gun. But
Yeah.
like all those guys that are doing, anybody who's doing night vision training, they're all going to be suppressed anyway. So
Yep.
I don't go anywhere with the gun, unsuppressed, because again, I know that's the
Yeah.
customer. We want to show them what the performance of the gun does.
Yeah.
So, I like the KGM cans. We've been playing with them too as well. Super, very low back pressure. They're more the traditional welded baffle, but they operate kind of the same way. But for whatever reason, that's a solid can, man. When I first got it, I was kind of like, it's titanium. It's
Crazy though because people are like, "Oh man, they're
Is it-
ugly.
is it
They're ugly."
sparky?
But
What's that?
It's a pretty sparky.
So in the beginning, it was all, I wouldn't say it's a flamethrower, but almost looked like
Yeah.
I went into an indoor range and we were zeroing it in, testing it out, and I was doing some video, and I was like, man, that's a lot.
I say,
you
I
don't
mean,
see it during the
titanium cans
day,
are kind of that way,
But
right?
now that I've burned some rounds, and my goal is to try, I want to, shoot the shit out of that can eventually over the next year or two, just get as many rounds to see how long it lasts. But it's went down significantly compared to when I first got it, because you're
Yeah.
getting all that titanium dust and all that.
Out.
For operators like SWAT guys and stuff like that, it's probably not the ideal can for the amount
Right.
that they're going to shoot, like thousands of rounds or whatever. It'll wear out quickly, I believe. But I definitely, that can and the Hux is good too as well. But that's like my Barbie doll gun, man. I bring that out and let people show them. It's like, man, this is what you can do.
Yeah.
What you can do with it.
shoots good
Yeah.
for sure.
No, ton of fun.
Yeah, that was a
I
good time at the range though. I'm glad you guys were able to make it
There's some
out there.
good wind out there.
All the
man.
guys. Oh, it was
Oh,
holy
dude,
shit.
it was a brutal day.
Coming from
I had- I
Florida, I was
honestly-
like, oh man.
I have no clue if any of the footage that we shot
No,
out there
we're
is,
getting-
is usable. You're just gonna hear wind.
you have to put
yeah.
music behind it or something.
Oh, yeah,
like,
I mean,
cool reels.
We're starting. We talked about this. We're trying to start our vlog channel, like the behind the scenes, like No
Right,
Quarter
right.
Boys, whatever. And so today was kind of going to be the first vlog, first vlog segment to go
Right,
into
right,
it.
right.
And we get
Listen-
out there, and I'm honestly, I'm not sure any of it is usable.
Listen to this. It's
the
so
beginning
funny.
one is when I show up and Josh has his camera out, he's vlogging, he's like, and Yeah, I don't really know what to say because I don't really vlog, so I'm gonna go put this camera away.
It's a learned
What's up,
skill.
gang? You gotta do that. What's up, gang?
Yeah.
We're out here.
Well, I got to take over for Matt Carricker because he retired, so there's a hole in the industry.
It's funny. So here it is. I'll turn it up. Let's see.
Oh yeah. It's almost like we're out on a boat, man, on the water.
Yeah,
That's
it's
how
exactly
Yeah.
right. Oh man,
That's
So are you-
Idaho in the spring.
How long have you lived in Florida? Are you lifelong Florida guy?
So
You the Florida man?
Yeah, because you don't
Yes.
seem like Florida man.
yes and no.
Okay.
So I was kind of raised in Florida from when I was a kid, and
Okay.
when I was 17, I joined the military. So although my parents lived there,
Mhm.
I was kind of in and out, and I was 2.5 decades. I was all over the place.
Yeah.
So when I retired in 2017, moved back to Florida. It was a great time to retire and a great time to buy a house in
I was gonna
Florida
say,
because
yeah.
the market was like right where it didn't lose value.
Yeah.
Interest rates were great. And that's why I say you're gonna have to pull me kicking and screaming out of there right now because like
cheap debt.
I've got a great house, and if I would have been in the same situation now, trying to buy a house,
Yeah.
I definitely would not have picked Florida. Other than
Right.
my parents, my parents are passed away now, but I would not go back down there because how quickly the cost of living has gone up over the last probably like 4 or 5 years from the
Oh, wow.
pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
It's gone up significantly.
I was looking
Yeah.
at houses in St. Augustine recently, just for fun. I'm always just kind of playing around with ideas, and I mean, you can still get quite a bit of home for
Right.
even less than you can get it here.
I don't know. I mean, I know up here it's pretty big, but if the funny
It's
thing about Florida,
skyrocketed here.
people don't realize that there's massive areas of rural rolling
Nothingness.
hills, cow pastures,
Yeah.
all that stuff. Like, and I drive back and forth on the state, and you see it like in the middle area. It's all the back and the coasts and stuff like that. where
Yeah.
everybody wants
It's
to live.
crazy because my daughter just recently moved there to Kissimmee like
Yep.
2 years
Yeah.
ago now.
That's
And
south
I
of
couldn't
Orlando. Yeah.
believe
Kiss a who?
how
Kiss a what?
rural it was. It reminded me of where we lived in California before
Right.
we moved up here. It is vast open cowboy land.
I'm not even kidding you. So I drove
Like-
from.
Well, that's
it's-
where the term cracker came from. Do you know that?
No.
Yeah, in Florida, it was the Florida crackers. So like the white boys, they had cattle whips, and they would
Yeah,
whip
and they
them.
had like old. It's a cracker style home.
Yep. And
It's like a tin roof, like kind of like a shed out in
Yep.
the pastures and stuff like that.
Huh.
so that's
When
where
you
the term.
drive
That's where the
from-
term cracker came from.
Like if you drive from Orlando all the way over to like Clearwater, like if you drive that route, it's like it's farmland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like big open
Right.
farmland
Right.
everywhere.
With
Or
crocodiles.
swamp. If you the further south you go, it's more swampy.
Swamp.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's now. But if you go north, it's rolling hills and it looks like Missouri. I would call it like Missouri almost
Yeah.
with the forest and stuff like that.
Florida's
So-
beautiful, dude. I would move there in a
Honestly,
heartbeat.
like-
it's so thick.
We've
the
talked about this,
forest
though.
is
I've-
crazy.
Well, you know, I'm right behind you too, because
Yeah.
like so when I'm from California and I lived in Santa Cruz, it was just ideal. It was overcast in the morning, burns off, sunny, warm, beautiful day, the
Right.
beach, everything's great. And move here in my first winter, I'm just like, why am I so fucking sad right now?
Yeah, you don't
I'm
see the
just so
sun for 4
fucking
months.
bummed
I will say
out.
this, man. Like the locals always complain about the snowbirds. So snowbirds are the guys that live up north,
Yeah.
the older people, and they moved out. And I was like hating on it. And then I started seeing it, and I was like, I went up north for a couple of like business trips, like to New Hampshire,
Yeah,
and,
you're
like
like,
whatever.
fuck
Oh,
this.
yeah.
And I'm like, in the summer, I'm like, yeah, man, I could live up here in the summer and come down here in the winter. It's like between we'll say November, like after the end of hurricane season,
Yeah.
November till right about now, like May is like the peak time to where the humidity is still fairly low.
Yep.
It's cool out. It's just a nice place to hang out and do
How'd,
stuff. And
how'd you fare during the hurricanes this year?
we did fairly good. Funny thing is we just getting ready to do, but we've got impact glass around the whole house.
Smart.
Mm.
So I mean that stuff will stop like a 9mm round.
Yeah.
The videos, like they have guys like bashing it with axe. It'll hold it. And our final holdout was our front door. So we just did the front door full impact. That's getting ready to get installed. That gives me a little bit of more peace of mind.
Sure.
We do have hurricane panels, which are a lot cheaper, but because I'm traveling so much and my wife, she's there. I was like,
It's
if
hard for
something
her to
happens,
install
install them.
everything.
Yeah.
I don't
down,
want her to
yeah.
have to. Yeah, I want her just to be like, hey, we're good. Especially in the second story. I mean, I'm pushing 50 right now,
Mm.
so like climbing up on ladders and stuff like that as I get
Not
older
ideal.
is definitely not as fun as it used to
No.
be.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was like, hey, our second story, we want to make sure we put them up there. It wasn't cheap, but like for a peace of mind on your potentially biggest investment
Priceless.
in your life,
Yeah.
it's priceless. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
what we're
Do you have
doing.
backup generator at your house?
I do have a portable generator.
Mhm.
We were thinking about doing the Generac. It was just, just talking to the neighbors and stuff like that. It's for the amount of time you get out of it that you really need it, it's not really worth it right now. So
Yeah.
maybe I'll
Yeah.
change my mind eventually.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of generators in general,
Yeah.
just being a prepper in
Yeah.
mindset, but we have a Generac on our house for the simple reason we're on a well, right?
Right.
So
You
if
gotta
you don't
get
have
the
power,
water.
you got to get water
And
out
the
of the
winters out
ground.
here get pretty brutal too, I'm sure.
Yeah, you know, the funny thing is I thought we were going to get
Here it's
more
mild.
This is mild, yeah, right here. I
And
thought we
is
were
it
going to
really?
get
Yeah.
more of an impact of like weather related losing power, and it just doesn't
Doesn't
happen.
happen.
Yeah, it's been snowing out here since forever. So the infrastructure's like
People are
Well,
used to it.
okay
And-
with it. Yeah.
And where we're at's a high desert. So the Treasure Valley, it's very protected. We've got mountains on basically both sides of the valley.
Mhm.
And it's just a high desert. So it gets cold, but we don't get a
Cold is-
ton of snow.
Yeah.
We get
Really?
I'd say we
Really?
probably get maybe a few feet of winter.
So I was in New Hampshire last month, like early, like April, I think it was. when I
still
was.
snowing.
It was still like 3 or 4 feet of snow on the ground.
Yeah.
Like, and the roads were clear
Heck
We
with
don't
that.
I
we
was just
don't
like,
get
oh, man.
standing snow that stays for more than maybe a couple of
because
weeks.
it's not
And
that
that's
wet.
a long time.
Maybe
Every
it's like
couple
that
years
not
we
wet
do.
environment.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, I can't. I'm
Still
over
better
it.
than Seattle though.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. So now I'm like, man, like, all right, cool. Get SimShot running, completely autonomous by itself, and then just like sell rental property somewhere, buy one in Florida,
Mhm.
and then just tell the kids like, yo, you're teenagers now, like, hold down the fort.
So you want to hear a cool, like
Make sure
a
you go to
guy
school.
that I actually is an older guy. So me and the wife last year we went and did a Alaska cruise, and I can't remember, it was like Ketchikan. It was one of the ports.
Yeah.
The tour guy, he's an older guy, and his wife was older. They actually lived in Pensacola, and the tourist season in Florida or in Alaska is only like that 4 months out of the year or
Mhm.
whatever.
Yeah.
it's a
So
short
they come
window.
up here, they make all their money. You know, he's obviously retired, so they do all their tourist stuff. I mean, this guy was awesome too. So he did all the like the tourist stuff,
Yeah.
and at the end, he's like, I flew down to Florida and we're good. We just kind of hang out there during the the winter months or whatever when we can't do anything. I was like, man, that sounds like almost like a dream come true.
Yeah.
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 Like better than whole like I know a lot of guys are like, oh, I want to open this big ranch. But I'm like, dude, that's a lot. A lot of military guys are like, oh, I want to retire and live in Montana, which is cool. I get it.
Dude, Montana's brutal,
Owning that
bro.
property, dude, it's not like it's not
It's
like
work.
Yellowstone. It's a
It's
lot of
work.
work, and
It's
I
a
don't
lot of
want to
work.
deal with that.
And there's a lot of taxes that come along with having land.
I think the
too.
only way that I could live in Florida would have to be coastal.
right.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I really, really like Clearwater. Like
Yep.
we
Is
love
that
it
on
over
the
there.
outside or the
It's
Gulf
on the
side?
Gulf side,
West Coast. Yeah.
Gulf of America.
Yeah, see, like I like Sarasota's awesome, like that area, which Clearwater is just south, I think, of Sarasota.
I wish they would have changed it to Gulf of Florida or Gulf of Texas, not just the Gulf of America.
Yeah.
Because
Have
it would
they
have been
updated
like a
that
bunch
yet?
of people would have jumped on that right away and like go to lesser tractors. Because it is like Florida and then you got Texas. I was like, I think that would have been just cooler. I don't
Like
know why.
Alabama and Louisiana.
And,
yeah.
I'll tell you what, though,
none of
Yeah.
that.
In
Yeah.
Panama City Beach, I fell in love with a girl from Georgia. I was at Hooters. No, this is a true story. So I went to one of my really good friends was in the Air Force and he was stationed out near like Panama City Beach.
Eglin, I think is what it is.
Mhm.
Something like that. Yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, let's go. You know, his wife's pregnant. I want to go see him. So we flew out and my girlfriend at the time was with us, but she was just like satanically mad at me for probably great reasons. But at the
Every
time,
reason. Yeah.
I don't know what it was, but she was like so mad. Like she seriously probably said like 3 words in a week in Florida, just furious. And we go to, where do you want to go have dinner? And I'm just like, oh no, for sure Hooters. And then afterwards I want to go drinking at Coyote Ugly. And they're like, okay. So that's what we did. We brought a pregnant woman with us. Anyways, she came in. She had short little bleach blonde hair, little Daisy Dukes and shit kickers and a push-up bra. And she's like, hey, y'all. And I looked up and I was like, oh, my God.
You marry me now.
I literally was like on the brink of just like looking at my girlfriend and just like, you can get the fuck out of here now. I'm done with you. Oh, my
It's
God.
lower
And-
Alabama, man.
well, and then I realized it's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, so like they're just from Georgia and they just cruise
Right.
down.
Georgia,
and that's
Alabama,
it.
right there,
Boom.
man.
Yeah, and they just cruise straight down and you got them, hey y'all. I'm like, fuck, sold. It was a problem, man.
Yeah.
I like struggled to leave.
I don't know. Florida, it's got this allure. Like I
It
love
does.
Idaho. I mean, but coming from California where the weather is very mild,
They changed it.
to coming here, the winter is very.
Apple Maps.
Yeah.
It's difficult for
So the
some
reason
It is
people.
the
difficult.
reason Florida gets like when you joke about the Florida man, Florida woman, and everything,
Yeah.
is we have such a wild diversification of or diversity of people coming
People,
from
yeah.
all over the place.
Well, you've got Miami.
There's very few locals. Yeah, you go from like Miami to Tampa, in all the rural stuff and like all like just so you have all this wild stuff that happens and it just makes the news and you're like, yeah, that's it, man.
I think a
It's-
lot of people, similar to California, people think California and they think Hollywood. They think Florida and they think clubbing scene in downtown Miami.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But that's just such a small
And it's
population.
just the
That's it.
smallest
It's a
segment.
pocket.
But
Nobody even
that's,
goes to
but that's
Miami
what you
anymore.
see on TV and movies.
Right.
Well, it's
or
just
whatever,
like California.
You know what I
You
mean?
think San Francisco, but you don't think about
Cool,
like
it's sexy.
Redding,
Yeah.
Petaluma, like all these beautiful, awesome places that are.
Well, Redding's not beautiful.
Well, okay, Redding's not, but like, you know, all the
There's a
places that are
shithole.
literally just the middle of nowhere, California. There's just
Yeah.
nothingness
It's
out
be-
there.
there- I mean, proximal to Reading, like there's some beauty in its own right. I mean, you hit
Well,
up
I
into
mean,
the
you have-
hills and whatnot. You've got the
It's
lake out
methy.
there and
Fishing.
all the
methy.
fishing and
It's methy.
but everywhere is. I mean, that's like, okay, you could say the same about Clear Lake. Clear Lake is super methy,
Oh my
but
God.
Clear Lake is probably one of the most uniquely beautiful areas in California that almost no one has heard about. And that lake is a top 10 bass lake, I think, in the world.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
So it's interesting when you go to these different places, but Florida is that way. You know what I mean? When I drove, cause I was in Florida I deployed out there with, under FEMA with my company for the
Right.
hurricane season. And dude, I convoyed 20 ambulances from California to Florida and we drove the
Yeah.
entire way.
Wow.
And
That's
once
brutal, man.
it's brutal, but once you get into that southeastern section of the country, basically like east of Texas,
yeah, yeah. It's just green.
it's just
Green and
It's
watery.
green
water.
and forests, like
Yeah.
these crazy southern swampy forests.
You drive
I
through
think
I-10.
I think that's one of the allure, like why I'm drawn so much. I've only been to Florida like maybe 5 or 6 times, but it's so clean and green.
but it's
Yeah.
flat.
It is pretty flat.
I did
It's
some
pretty flat.
training out there, just outside of St. Augustine. I don't know, I can't remember when it was. There's like an old decommissioned military base. Then we went out there and did it was like a joint training operation with like Brazil and a bunch of South American, like Canada came down. So we had all these different militaries.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
All in like
It's gotta
one
be a fun
spot.
party.
Yeah.
It was like
Canadians and Brazilians.
Oh, yeah,
right.
it was wild. We had like, I think it was like 6 or 7 different countries that we did this big, huge joint training operation. And it was right outside of St. Augustine. And then they decided that it was a good idea to let us all loose on
Oh,
St.
that's nuts,
Augustine
dude. You're done.
in one night. That was
What are you
wild.
talking about, eh?
What are you talking
Yeah.
about?
What's that?
Canadians are afraid of the dark, and they like jelly donuts.
I mean, who doesn't?
I don't.
Do you guys have what is it, Tim Hortons up here?
Nah, it's
No.
So there's a couple
way
places
more
on our-
north over the border.
They have like this maple coffee roll thing you can get.
Yeah.
I remember getting it when I went to Canada or whatever. Man, it's like, dude, that's so good. I know there's some here in the US. I know there is. It's just not as popular as like Dunkin' or Starbucks
Yeah.
or whatever. But like, yeah, they're pretty cool.
This may be controversial, but I'm gonna die on this hill. I think
don't you fucking
I
do
think
it.
the best donut,
Oh, okay.
the
Go ahead.
best donut, is a maple bar with bacon bits on it.
I
It's a
love
good
a good.
donut.
I
It's a
love a
good
good maple bar.
So
So I went to Texas 2 weeks ago. I was at this place called Round Rock Donuts.
Ah,
And
just
it's
north of Austin. Was it in Round Rock?
Literally in Round Rock, right
Okay.
north of Austin. The guy in the booth next to me, the day one, had like a thing, like a box of them there.
Mhm.
And I was eyeballing it and I was like, dude, I want to try this place. So I went in there. Not only do they have like this huge donut you can get, I'm like, I'm not eating all that. I just got like a single glazed donut.
yeah.
And it was warm. It was like melting. I'm getting hungry just thinking about it. It's like melting in your mouth. So it's probably the best donut I've ever had.
Yeah.
It's
It
awesome.
was pretty solid.
Fresh out of the grease. That's the
Right.
way to do it.
So I'll be even more controversial with my donut speak that I don't like donuts at all.
Mm.
In fact, if I eat a donut in the morning,
At all.
I do not, I recognize they're tasty.
Croissants? Do you
Croissants I
like?
fuck with all day. But like a donut, like will make me legit feel like horrible garbage.
I mean,
dog
they're
shit.
terrible for you.
About-
They're-
Right,
yeah,
right.
they're,
10
I'm not
minutes
arguing
later,
that.
like if I eat a donut, like dude, that's it, game over. I'm not leaving the house.
I said
I'm
like the
not-
French crullers are actually the least calories if you're going to eat a donut because it's so flaky and light.
yeah.
Oh,
If you're
okay.
going to eat a donut and you want to like save your calories, that's the one to
Yeah.
go with.
Eat
If
the
that
I
air.
mean, look, if I'm going to commit to having
You
a
might as
donut
well
in
do
a
it,
day,
dude.
my
Go all in,
my
man.
calories for the day are gone.
Go
So
all
So
in.
if I do,
that's a turn off the tracking app day.
if I do have a donut, it is original, just donut,
Just glazed.
no glaze, no toppings, nothing. Like
Just
an
bread.
original,
Basic ass cake donut.
but not like a fluffy one. It's not
This is a
fluffy.
cake donut.
Yeah, it's like it's deep fried. It's like crunchy, but like there's nothing on it.
Huh.
If
Dip it
you
in
even
coffee.
put some like drizzle on top, count me out, dude. I'll
Really?
eat the bottom of it. I will not touch that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, you've got it. Your opinion's irrelevant.
No,
That's
100%
crazy.
irrelevant. Everything I say on this podcast is fucking irrelevant.
That's
No,
like
but
the
that's
cheapest
specific,
donut
I
you
mean-
could buy in a grocery store. And the bottom, a tasty cake donut.
Your kids like donuts?
I mean, I literally will give Declan donuts and he will throw up and then ask for another one. Like,
Really?
He loves donuts. But my oldest, when we lived in California, my parents, we used to just dump his ass off at my parents' house and go away for a weekend. And so he has a really close relationship. And every Saturday, it would be they'd come pick him up and they'd go take him to go get donuts. So this kid just like loves the idea of donuts because it reminds him of
I love how the conversation went from like guns to donuts, and to me that's like a hallmark of a good podcast.
Yeah,
like you're like, hey man, we did this and we did say like you're just talking about stuff that like
people think about.
This is like argument, man. Do
this is
people
what
like
we do
donuts?
in here.
Do people like croissants? Do they like muffin tops or whatever, the stuff that like every time I see like a new like brand, like the crumble cookies, or remember what it was the
crumble cookies.
What was the cakes?
They're too sweet.
Yeah.
It was like a muffins or whatever, like that'd be like cupcakes.
Yeah.
Like these boutique cupcakes, they like every couple of years they go into business and they franchise across the nation and then they go out of business 5 years after that.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're like, that's the thing. It's like
there is one franchise that has lasted and they're incredible. Have you heard of Nothing Bundt Cakes?
Yes.
Nothing But Cakes.
Okay, so I'm weird.
I think that's like a big popular thing nationwide.
Oh, it is. They're
my
massive.
daughter brought some of those home the other day and they were really good.
But
They're
they
really
make
good.
everything in the individual store.
Yeah.
So everything is like
quality control.
Quality control, homemade, handmade cakes. I love carrot cake. It's basically the only cake.
I love it, man.
Their carrot cake
is old people shit.
Is
cream cheese frosting?
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Is the best carrot cake that you can get. It's amazing. People are like, I'll have a birthday party.
Have you been to Marie Callender's?
Dude, Sherry makes a freaking
I got
killer.
so violently ill off of Marie Callender's. My wife.
See, we don't have that out east. Is that a restaurant?
Yes,
I know the frozen foods, but we don't have that out
east.
It's a
restaurant. Same brand.
Yeah, there's one here, but it's where all the old people go for lunch.
I got the most violent food poisoning from Marie Callender's. I will never eat something under that brand.
Man.
I won't.
What did you get there? Let's talk about that. What did you get?
I think it was a pumpkin pie.
There's no way pumpkin pie could give anyone stomach problems. Impossible.
Dude,
that is the only pie that has ever mattered.
I have to agree with you. Pumpkin
violently. I love pumpkin pie. I will never eat Marie Callender's again. I was so violently ill.
All right, on the count of three though, best pumpkin pie. 1, 2, 3. Costco.
I make my own.
Nah, dude, fuck that.
What I think is cool is
Costco's is good.
Costco's
huge.
There's a difference between pumpkin spice and pumpkin pie.
Yes.
I get people like when you just say go to Starbucks, get a pumpkin spice latte.
Yeah.
It is a different flavor from a pumpkin pie
100%
flavor.
true.
Which is a difference, but it's like a meteor like flavor.
Yeah.
I know that sounds weird to say meteor, but it's a
you're totally right.
Pumpkin pie flavored cheesecake is really good compared to pumpkin spice.
The pumpkin pie cheesecakes, that's probably my best.
Money right there.
I like that more than just straight pumpkin pie.
That's why, dude, in the fall, you'll catch me every day with a fucking cold brew with
and a PSL.
Milk. No, cold brew, oat milk, pumpkin spice.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, "Oh my god, white girl!" I'm like, "I don't give a
cares,
fuck,
man. It's
I don't give a fuck what
it's
you
2025.
say."
We don't have to drink black coffee
really
anymore.
just making fun of the Uggs that you wear along with them every day when you get your PSL, but it's okay. Don't worry about it.
You know, I only own one pair of Crocs and no Uggs.
You should be an Uggs influencer. That'd be pretty badass.
You should,
dude.
I'd
grow my hair out and bleach it, and just like wide brim hat.
You've already got the Columbia vest. You're good. Perfect. Just need
keeps
some
my
Uggs.
core warm, bro. Keeps my core warm.
Tell us about your time in the Army.
Oh yeah, what did
we've
you
got
do
another?
in the Army?
We've got a
So fun story. So I was started out when I first started in the military. I was a combat engineer, and I realized that was a lot more. I'm not gonna say more work, but a lot more mechanic stuff than I wanted to do because we were like
What year did you enlist?
Oh, dude, 1993.
Were you east side or O side?
Both. So that's a fun story.
Oh, okay. He's a Mustang.
So I did 14 years military police. I was an NCO. So I made sergeant first class. I was actually a drill sergeant, and that was during the peak of GWAT. That was like 05 to 07. And during that time, they're like rapid expansion in the force. Well, it's super easy to enlist, new privates coming in.
When everybody just wants to go fight.
Yeah, everybody's cool. They're like, well, dude, where we get officers from? Like, we need platoon leaders, we need company commanders and all that stuff. So I was about 10 credits shy of my bachelor's degree, and that was never even on my radar. And they're like, hey, dude, we're doing this OCS program. We're waiving all these requirements. We're stripping it down to 8 weeks. I mean, I had my hat on and everything. I put the packet through, and it got approved within like 6 months. So like the day I came off the trail, because it was 24 months, and we had to be, we call it on the trail. That's your drill sergeant time, which was probably the hardest job I've ever done as far as like hours and time worked. But we went in.
You're a full-time babysitter.
Yeah, 100%. And I was one of the senior drill sergeants, so I got to chase all the NCOs around. Like that was even funner. That was, oh God. So went to OCS. I actually got the same branch that I was. So I literally came back and guys were like, hey, like, why are you a lieutenant now? Why are you lieutenant now? So I was lucky enough, straight out of OCS, I went to Germany. I had 10 months to train up. I had an awesome platoon sergeant, but great group of guys. We were able, like 10 months to handpick my guys. We deployed to Afghanistan for 12 months.
As an MP?
As an MP. So we were doing, I mean, full thing patrols. We owned, basically, we had like 7 or 8 police stations. We trained ANA, the AMP, which are, you know, the local nationals. I'm still very, I can say personally, I'm still very upset about how that whole Afghanistan thing went down.
The withdrawal.
Iraq was kind of the right way to do it. Afghanistan was the wrong way to do it.
Yeah, I think
but it was a lot
blatantly
of lost work and a lot of effort, but we had a great group. And I mean, I still get my guys today. So I did 10 years as an officer, and then I retired. So I was a company commander. I actually got stationed in Hawaii. So I retired out of Hawaii, which was the coolest thing.
Schofield?
Did you retire like
no, I was actually at Fort Shafter.
Oh,
I was working up headquarters.
Nick was in Hawaii.
Yeah. And it was, stationed. Man, I would like get off work. Like I was literally a mile from the scuba shop. The boat was right there. Throw my gear on. I think it was like $50 dives. We do night dives. It was,
that's cool.
Probably that's where I got back into diving, you know, full, like really religiously. But yeah, so that whole experience, and I knew, so basically what happened is as I started getting older as a captain, I was competing against guys, like I was in my late 30s, early 40s. I was competing against guys that were like 24, 25,
as
whatever.
As
O3s. And I just was like, knowledge wise and was, I would have been fine, but I just like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. And it was like, do I want to retire on a high note, or do I want to leave on, like, it was just that whole balance thing. And I was like, all right, we're retiring, move back to Florida. And
so you retired out as an 03?
Yeah, 03.
Yeah.
So that it worked out. It was probably the best financial decision I ever made in my life.
Yeah.
Because I was doing fairly well. And,
well, I mean, they like brand new butter bars are making the same as E7s.
Right.
You
well,
know?
The problem is you're not a butter bar very long.
Right.
You're not a second lieutenant very long. The real pay increase comes when you make captain.
For sure.
So at the time, I mean, I had 36 months in, I think is when we made captain. So that's where you got guys that are captains that are making the same.
Right. But guys that are going from the enlisted side going over to over. So your time in service is an 01.
Right. You know,
dude, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, if I would have,
I had a lot of friends like my OCS class was all old guys. It was very few young guys. It was all guys in their mid 30s. A lot of them that were just wanted to, you know, go that route. Guys that were like, because it's Fort Benning is where we went to OCS. Guys that were in Ranger Bat, they wanted to like switch over. I wasn't going to go infantry. Like I knew that I was like, there's no, like at 34, 35, I was just like,
it's just a different time tempo, man.
I'm like, dude, that's not where I want to go.
And your body starts to break down.
Infantry officers, it's a whole nother game. And I'm just like, I'm not ready for this. But it was great because I knew a lot of the guys that I had worked with, came up with. We all had a lot of trust, and man, it was a great time. So I got to stay in all the main key leadership positions. I mean, that was great for me, man. It was a cool experience going.
How long were you in Hawaii?
2 years. Well, it was about 2.5 years. Yeah, it was. That's another place that's like, man, for gun wise, because there's a lot of misconceptions at the time. I sold a lot of my guns because in the military.
Kind of hard.
You don't have I don't have a lot of NFA stuff. You don't do all that stuff because you got to move with it.
Right.
States are different. But I got rid of so much of my shit. And then when I got there, they're like, oh, no, you can have this. You just got to register it.
Yep.
And active duty military.
Every base, right? You have to register it.
Well, it's not. It's the state.
Oh.
It's the state. So you literally have to go down to the police. If you're
if you visit that, like, that's why I don't carry a gun there. Because we go to Hawaii quite often, like twice a year. That's why I don't take a gun there. You have to go to the police station and register it with them while the gun is there.
And you got to have a medical doctor sign off saying that there's, unless you're active duty military, you have to have a medical doctor sign off saying you don't have any, like, you know, depression or whatever it is, which is not good for veterans or anybody for that matter who's got mental health that wants to seek it, because they're like, oh, they're going to take my guns away.
Yeah.
So it's one of those systems that they thought were going to fix, but it's just designed to get people not to have guns.
Right.
Because there's a huge population. I mean, there's some Rangers over there. People like to shoot, people do whatever, but the state just, makes it so hard.
They just did something really crazy though. Last week they were going to outlaw ARs, and they didn't pass.
Oh, really?
Which
Oh,
is
wow.
Dude,
insane.
that's
Surprising.
nuts, man.
Did not pass. Both out like they
House
just
or
could not
Senate, yeah.
agree on it. So
Right.
even the Dems were like,
So
nah,
they're
we're
even
not
better
doing that.
than Colorado.
We've
Yes.
got
At
a
this point. That's
Yep.
crazy.
Yep.
We've got a good friend in the industry, Dave Mods Customs. He lives in Idaho now, but he's a Hawaiian native.
Yeah.
Right, right.
And he was there for a long time, and he was doing custom gun work, stipple work, and all that in Hawaii. And
I have a really good customer that we go back and
oh
see.
yeah,
Buys a lot of guns. They
I don't
buy
think
a
they're
lot
probably
of
doing a
guns.
lot of like crazy tactical training and stuff over there. Like I don't think like I don't know, maybe just limited to how much.
You
they
know
can
who
do.
was
I don't
doing
know.
a lot of training over there actually was the company in Utah where he just got arrested.
Oh,
Field Craft.
Mike.
Yeah,
Field
Mike.
Oh yeah, that's interesting.
he's all in the clear now, I think, right?
No,
I
he
don't
got
know.
arrested again. I think.
Yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, uh-oh.
But he does
Ruh-roh.
he did a lot of training classes before all this stuff.
It's a crazy place, man, because it's like a beautiful area. But like if you
It's
get out
so
of
expensive.
if you leave
though.
out of Oahu and go to the other islands, if you like nature and like going to the beach, that to me that's way better. Like the
Yeah.
Big Island is really like because I lived there for 2.5 years. When we went to the Big Island, I was like, oh, this is why it's called the Big Island or Hawaii itself. Because you're driving 4 hours, you're like still on the same road. You're like, oh man, this is pretty cool. So yeah, it's definitely a different environment. But I definitely was not going to retire there.
Yeah,
It's
they're
just too expensive.
too
man.
expensive.
It's crowded. It's Oahu's like it's a city in the middle of the ocean.
yeah, it's like
Essentially.
going to Vegas.
Yeah, it's exactly.
That's it. That's
Speaking
why
of,
I go to Kauai. I love Kauai.
that's chill, man. I did a diving trip. We left Kauai and we went to Niihau, which is the Forbidden Island. There's like a
Mhm.
couple like
Yeah,
tribes that
you
live
can't
out
go
there. You can't
Yeah.
go there. But we took the dive boat across the channel, and we dove off of it. I mean, the water was like
Clear.
crystal clear. We jumped in, immediately had monk seals coming up to us, like their population that they have
Yeah.
there, like in our face, checking us out. We had sharks out there, and you could see probably about 100 feet of viz, and it was like, man,
that's wild.
this is really nice.
Unbelievable.
And I was like,
Yeah.
that's truly was like a bucket list thing
Yeah.
that we got to do. We
Oh,
got
cool.
halfway in the middle, and the guy just stopped the boat. He's like, hey, he's like, we're in like 15,000 feet of water. Does anyone want to jump off and go swimming in 15,000 feet of water? And a couple people did, because the way the islands are, it's not like
Right.
It's mountain
Florida
peaks.
where it's continental shelf.
Yeah.
It's literally mountains in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah,
But yeah, that crossing,
Yeah.
if you don't get it at the right time, it is super rough and dangerous.
Well, because it's just the waves are
right. And so we got there. It was like flat calm. We had I think they call them false killer whales. We had a pod of them. Like as we were coming back, there was like hundreds of them coming in.
Crazy.
So it's a cool experience, man.
That's super cool.
That's super dope.
15,000 feet of water.
That's kinda terrifying.
I've never dove ever. I kind of want to do it. I want to try it.
You should.
I had
It's
one
fun, man.
I just got
experience.
that
I
fear
was
of water though. That's the
I
problem.
was snorkeling
it's
in,
claustrophobic. If you're claustrophobic a little bit, it's a little sketchy.
snorkeling in Tahoe, and there's a lot of people that
That's something
scuba
you don't
dive.
hear that often. Snorkeling in
Yeah,
Tahoe.
sounds cool.
There's actually quite a bit of people.
It
that,
does sound kinda
that-
cool.
Well,
Yeah.
there's actually a lot of people that scuba dive.
They
in
dive
Lake
it,
Tahoe
yeah.
as well.
Really
Yeah, because it's the visibility. It's
freshwater diving,
and it's
yeah.
and it's gorgeously clear.
right.
But I was snorkeling, and where I was at, it was like this little cove. It's up on the North Shore. It's got all these cool rock formations, and it's just kind of fun to like dink around in, right? And I kind of came out of the cove and around a point, and I was looking down. Like, I don't know, my situational awareness was not up. And finally I kind of like turned my body vertical in the water column, and then looked out towards the big lake, and I had this full-blown panic
Yeah.
because it was just endless space.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I literally, even though I was on the top of the water,
Right.
I fully panicked.
You could see for a long. Yeah.
I've never been and once I finally regained my composure, I was like, okay, and I could look at it and I was fine, but it legitimately scared me.
Yeah.
It was wild. I can only imagine like thinking about swimming in 15,000 feet of
Yeah.
water. That
People wanna get
probably
out and
has
pee.
to feel.
That was cool. And the cool thing is, the guy he had a frozen pizza, and he wrapped it in tinfoil,
Set it out.
stuck it in the engine block, and in that area.
Oh,
And
yeah.
like by the time we got done with our second dive,
Pizza's
dude,
ready.
that thing was toasty warm.
I
It was
bet,
nice.
yeah.
It was a
That's
crazy
awesome.
thing, man.
Super cool
So,
experience.
it's a
That's
cool
fun.
place, man. If you get, it's just if you're gonna go there for vacation, you got to commit to at least a week.
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
the
yeah.
I mean, maybe from not the West Coast. I mean,
Picos
you
are
guys
fun.
are short,
Yeah.
but like from Florida, if I was gonna go out there, I'm just gonna go to the Caribbean.
Double the
Yeah.
distance.
I'm going to
yeah.
the Caribbean, dude.
Oh, for
Like it's
sure.
cheaper. It's like better to go. Like
Is
that's my
it? Is
thing.
there? Do you go to the Caribbean? Do Do you go out there often?
I do. So Jupiter, which is an inlet, it's about an hour and a half south of where I live.
Okay.
So when you go diving out there, it's off Florida. It is don't quote me on this, but it's like the closest place where the Gulf Stream comes to the continental shelf. So you've got basically like reefs. They're deeper reefs. They're like at like 75 to 80 feet, but it's where the Gulf Stream comes closest to the continental shelf. So you get a lot of big stuff. So you get the Goliath grouper, which are the size of this, size of the couch.
Yeah.
You get sharks. You get all like the lemming shark aggregation. You get the turtle spawning season. So you get all those big things, and then you get all the little things too. So depending on when you're diving, I mean, it gets rough in the winter out there, but like now's the time where it's really kind of chilled out. You're going diving, you're seeing all sorts of cool stuff.
That's cool.
It's just it's a shot from the house, and I mean, you can go to Bimini, which is like
that's the Bahamas, right?
Yeah, that's like an hour and a half from Fort Lauderdale by boat, and they have where you can do like the hammerhead, the great hammerhead. You can do the tiger shark dives. They have like, they call them safaris, like underwater safaris.
Tiger sharks don't they eat like everything?
Yeah, they do. But I mean, when they do their feeding, they're very protected, and they know like, so humans to sharks underwater are different than human on a surfboard or swimming above the water. When you're swimming above the water, you look like, especially if you're in a wetsuit or you just float around, like you look like
a seal
snack to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. You look like a meal. If you're underwater and you're not running from them and you're just like sitting there, I mean, yes, it is like, you want to talk about like your heart rate, even like the smaller sharks, like you can bleed out down there. Like,
yeah,
but you're with them, you're blowing bubbles, you're making noise. They're like, oh, this is not, that's when you see those videos of like the great whites coming up and they just kind of like check. And they just bump by. Now, I don't recommend that. Don't take it as a recommendation. But like when you're down there with a dive guide, a certified dive guide, it's fairly safe. But they don't see you as a food source.
Dude, to me, this sounds like the idea of cave diving. Like I just don't
won't do that. I won't touch that.
I am not fucking.
There's more people that die doing that, I think, than anything else.
It's just
cave diving. Experienced
even cave
divers.
exploring. People go in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm gonna crawl through a 6-inch segment.
Well, you remember it was was in Cambodia or where it was a couple years back where those kids, it was like a soccer team that got stuck in a rainstorm and they decided to go into the cave. Yeah, there was. I think Elon Musk was trying to help him out and he was coming out like it was a whole.
That was in Cambodia? I thought it was South America.
I think it was in Southeast Asia. I think it was somewhere in Asia that it happened. I may be mistaken, but it was a big.
I gotta find out.
Yeah, dude, find out because that was a huge deal. There was 2 different events and they got stuck because the caves just started flooding and these kids were like trapped in an air pocket. And they had to get divers to go in there and like pull them out one at a time. Thailand, yeah. So
can you imagine that?
No, I would never. If
I can't imagine
this cave. I'd be like, nah.
I can't imagine it raining out and me being like, "Hey, let me go really deep into this cave, as far as I can, where I have to go down." Like I'll just get wet, dude.
People don't watch horror movies enough.
Yeah, I'll just get wet, man, and like suffer. Like I might get in the mouth of the cave, but I'm not going in, man. Like.
And people dive that stuff. That's the craziest thing.
Dude, I don't know.
I always feel like when diving
I can like
scuba diving is not a
right
thrill.
Now.
Diving, it's not, to me in my mind, it's not a thrill seeking thing. It is something to go to relax and chill out. And the cool thing about it is like I can walk in the woods and I might not see an animal at all. But if I go underwater, I'm seeing a lot of stuff. And it's more for that to me than it is like,
you ever dive on some shipwrecks and
we have in Hawaii and stuff like that. There's a bunch of shipwrecks they have in there. It's actually pretty cool.
Is there not that many shipwrecks off of the East Coast?
There is, but they're in a lot like deep water, and they're like once you get to a certain point, you have to be a tech diver. So you've got trimix, like all different types of
gas mixes
and stuff. I don't do that. I'm a recreational diver, man. I'm like I like to go down
closed circuit systems and all that.
Yeah,
kind of stuff.
that's a lot. That's a whole nother level of.
You can only do that if you're a Navy SEAL.
Right.
Special operations.
It takes the fun out of it.
CAG operations.
I've never done it, but I've always like thought about doing it. But I've got a little fear of the water.
Yeah. Well, now if you go like on the West Coast, it's really cold out there. Like San Diego, I think there's a lot of diving out there.
There's a ton of diving.
It's cold water. They do like 7mm, dry suits or whatever.
Dude, I went snorkeling in Catalina. Dude, and there's
great whites everywhere.
Bro, I went in these kelp beds. They're like, oh, it's a great idea. Let's go to these kelp beds. Go in there, dude. There's sharks. There's freaking seals. I'm like, dude, I'm done with this.
Well, seals are in your face too.
Oh yeah.
There's a huge
straight up to the
abalone
top.
season on the North Coast of California and whatnot.
Yeah, that's what we were actually going to dive for abalone.
There was an ab diver a number of years ago.
No thanks.
And great whites, from what I understand, typically stay out of kelp beds because they don't like to have to maneuver through all that kind of stuff. It's kind of like a shelter for divers. I'm not a diver, I don't know. So, but that's what I've heard. But there was an ab diver that a shark, a great white, came out of the kelp bed and basically came in, like, ate the entire, just bit off the upper part of his body and then swam away.
Damn.
Crazy.
Yeah, no,
that
thanks.
was what we call an exploratory bite. They bite you and they realize, I mean, you're dead, you're gone, but they're like, oh, I don't want to eat this.
Yeah.
So down in Mexico, if you go down, there's like, they do charters where that's where they do the shark diving or the great white, but you're in a cage and you're using like.
I just saw a video of a cage dive and a great white torpedoed its way through the cage.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Like,
That's crazy, dude.
Doesn't feel all that safe anymore.
No.
There's a kid that I follow on Instagram. He does a lot of just like social media stuff, but he's a free diver, and
which is another crazy. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Why? Bring air with you.
He
it's
does
chill though, man. It's like
they do spearfishing.
They train
so I think
themselves.
there's laws around spearfishing and having air with you.
Right. Certain places, depending on where you go.
Yeah. So, anyways, so they were off the coast of Oregon, I believe, and he actually recently just they just got the world record for the octopus. It was huge. It was like a 75-pound octopus.
Damn, that's big.
But anyways, he's diving down to go look for fish and looks up and it's like, 6 feet of visibility. It's super. And all of a sudden he's got a giant ass great white literally in his face.
Right there.
It swims by and bumps him and then swims off.
Yeah.
And he just like up to the knees like great white and they get out and
that's when I end it, man. I'm out.
Oh yeah, they did too. They jumped in the boat and went home.
Yeah, I'll go get a burrito.
Do you do any fishing, spearfishing or any of that?
I don't, but there's a lot of guys that do. They have like so big thing down there is the invasive. There's a lionfish.
So
you can hit them every time, and then they have the lobster season, which Florida lobster are different than Maine lobster. They don't have the giant claws and all that stuff. People will get them all the time. So we even on some of the because I always go on like the charter boats or whatever. When it's season, we'll have guys that go out there and do it. It's funny too because like sometimes the spear guys, they'll have bags with them. They'll throw the stuff in there and they'll start bleeding, and you'll have the reef sharks just falling on. Now they're small, but I mean they're following you not for you. They're following you for what's in that bag. And they're smart, man. They figure it out fast. They're quick.
Yeah, that lionfish is pretty crazy because it doesn't have any natural predators, right?
Nothing down there.
Yeah, it's poisonous, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got a bunch of weird stuff.
But apparently it tastes really good.
People eat them. I've never had one.
You just have to cut the spines off.
You got to deep fry it and do whatever you
make some fish tacos.
Yeah,
that sounds really good.
That's guys are like deep fry anything.
I know. I'm getting hungry, man. We're talking about food. I'm like, man, I'm ready to eat. Hey, we've been going on about an hour and a half.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I know. It goes by quick, huh? We got anything else to hit on? Eric, we're gonna have to do this again. Yeah, I know you're in Florida, but maybe range day or something like that.
I like coming out to Idaho.
Are you gonna be here for range day?
Oh yeah, I'll be
Sweet.
here.
Yeah, we can throw another pod down.
We'll throw another pod down for sure.
We could do it in the evening or whenever, like everybody doing whatever.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. I'm down.
Yeah,
I'll tell you, man. For us, like I just say, it's great to be able to like work with you guys and we had a conversation. I think Rob, me and you were talking out on the range. Is like we look for those firearms trainers, those shops that have the touch of the local population that can able, like you're talking about, that loyalty that put that stuff and where we've been most successful is in those guys. If you want, again, we're open to a lot of things, but for especially for you guys are out shooting. You see customers, you see people. That loyalty is where we're going to build our brand in the future.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to see a lot. I'll tell you right now, you're going to see some really cool stuff coming from Vector over the next couple years. We're very open-minded brand. And we want to be a fully supported firearm system. So you see a lot of things coming out, but I think, performance-wise and what you're getting for in my mind, my personal opinion, you're getting a lot for what you're getting. Yeah, it is a $2,000, plus rifle, but for the package you're getting, I think you're gonna be really happy with it. I have no doubt.
And buy once, cry once.
Yeah,
buy a nice gun.
I don't think the price point is
no.
It shouldn't be a friction point because look, I'm
look
gonna buy one.
SIG MCX. It's the same. It's actually cheaper than the SIG MCX.
Yeah. And there are so many guys that they wanna get the cheap gun, but for every dude that's buying their first AR, you could talk to 10 gun guys who have a pile of shit that they don't use anymore.
That's why we do the swap meet.
Collecting dirt, man.
Right, exactly.
And it's 4 rifles out there that I don't shoot.
Like, take a little bit extra time, take a few more months, and buy the nice gun now.
Yeah.
I'm not saying spend $12,000 on a competition specific, But this is a fighting rifle, in my opinion. Like this is a fighting rifle. This isn't a PRS competition. This is a fighting gun. Buy this because you can take it to every class, run it, train it. You can run it hard.
You can run 2-gun or 3-gun. You can do your local carbine if you want to compete.
Yeah, right.
You do your carbine match.
I think what we're gonna do here, like with the podcast too, maybe we do a try before you buy. So we get a list going. You know, we hold people accountable, obviously, to it. They pay the range fee, and we take them out and shoot the gun.
Yeah.
Not a bad idea at all.
We'll put that together.
Or just come to range day.
Come to range day.
Yeah, I think
For sure.
so. We generate a lot of interests when we go out to dealers and we do range days or range events because then people are like,
it only takes putting your hand on the gun.
Okay, now this makes sense. It's
and we're doing one in Sacramento in September. So
that's right. I forgot about that.
I'm excited for that as well.
Yeah,
generate more excitement out there too.
Yeah, absolutely,
for sure.
Maybe SimShot should try to go to that.
Yeah, let's do it. We'd love to have you guys out there.
Because I think our fundamentals pistol class needs to go on the road.
Yeah.
So
I would agree.
I think so. I think we're eventually going to need to do it elsewhere. And we've already had people reach out from Arizona and other states like, hey, are you going to come down here? And we're like, fill a class for me.
Yeah, if you can fill a class.
If you can fill a class.
That's how it starts,
I'll fly
man.
out.
Yeah, that's how it starts, man. You get
Yeah.
the location, you get the people that obviously you don't want to just go out there blind.
Yeah, no.
But if you got somebody smart and you can fill a class, it's like,
Yeah.
why not, dude?
Yeah.
No.
Alrighty, y'all. No quarter pot on all the things. Can you shout out the socials and all that stuff? Where
Yeah,
can
just
people...
follow us on VKTR IND at Instagram. So Instagram is one of our number one ways to engage with us. Like we have people DMing us. We want you to share your product. We want, like, if you notice over the last year, we've changed our way things are. Like, I want real world users. I want real pictures.
Yeah.
We still have obviously curated stuff because people like it.
Sure.
It looks great.
We love to see your builds. We love to see what you guys are doing with the gun, and that makes me and Dave happy. You know, we like to see people using it. Follow us on. I think we're already shadow banned, so you actually have to type it all in to find us. Go to our website. You can sign up for our email list.
Yep.
Walk into our dealers and ask our guys questions about it. That's where you're going to get the best information.
And if you are in any of the states where Rob is operating, so Idaho, pretty much, the entire state here.
Yeah.
And then the Reno area and Sacramento area, they're premier dealers for Vector. So you can go in and they've got all the stuff. They are the guys. No quarter pot on all the things, guys. We love you. Please follow, like, share, do all the things that helps us grow. Trying to get past that benchmark.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, y'all.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.